Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to present to you a unique opportunity in the diagnostic space. A little bit about some safe harbor statements, because we are a NASDAQ traded company. The symbol again is BMRA. And I'm going to go through the slide deck pretty quickly so you can have questions that you can answer. This is the first time you're going to see a diagnostic product FDA approved as a therapy. So in other words, a diagnostic usually tells a person if they're pregnant or not. It doesn't help treat the pregnancy. It doesn't, a diagnostic tells a person if they have COVID or not. It doesn't treat the COVID. Here, the information coming off of the diagnostic test is going to treat the patient. It's a $30 billion market. We have a very robust patent portfolio, so 11 patents issued, 2 in the United States, the rest are outside the United States, and over 100 patents pending. We have some significant milestones driving our growth. So first is the InFoods, what we call diagnostic-guided therapy, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. We have an H. pylori antigen test that is in FDA being reviewed right now. And we are getting traction on our colorectal cancer screening test, Easy Detect. Our capital structure is very conservative. I am the largest shareholder in the company. I make $135,000 US as my salary. I purchased myself $225,000 worth of shares over about 18 months ago. And it's because I believe in the company. I'm an investor in the company more than I am the CEO or trying to take a salary of the company. I'm here because I want to make a difference in people's lives. I think by doing so, we will make a very big difference for our shareholders. There's no warrants, there's no debt, there's no preferred. So it is a completely clean and conservative capital structure. Also, we are break even. We have over 10 million in cash. So you're not talking about a company that needs to continuously raise money, okay? What probably sets us apart the most is the depth of our scientific leadership team. So if you're not a GI doctor, you probably don't know these names. These names are the US members of the Rome Foundation. That makes up our scientific advisory board. These are the people who got these drugs approved. So Linzess is a $2 billion drug, Xifaxan another $2 billion drug. They were instrumental in getting them approved. They also set what's called best practice worldwide guidelines for who is an IBS patient and how to treat an IBS patient. Our clinical study was run at Mayo Clinic, Harvard, University of Michigan, Texas Methodist, and University of Houston, Texas Medical Center. Take a look at who's running our clinical studies. The chief of gastroenterology at UT Health, also the spokesperson for Linzess, the $2 billion drug. Mayo Clinic, the current co-editor-in-chief of the American Journal of Gastroenterology, probably the leading journal in gastroenterology today. So you can see the people that we have involved not only believe in what we're doing, they put their name and their reputation on what they're doing because they believe that this is going to make a huge difference in patient care. So again, 2 sides of our business. We have specialty diagnostics. We are a manufacturer. We have FDA, CE, Chinese FDA registered manufacturing facilities in California and Mexico. We've launched products through the FDA and sell products into China today and in Europe and around the world. That's where our revenues come from. The product that I'm going to talk to you about today is where we really think our growth is going to come from, and that is diagnostic-guided therapy. So let's just jump into that. What is diagnostic-guided therapy? Imagine a patient who has irritable bowel syndrome. There's 40 million just in the United States. It's about 15% of the Chinese population, 15 to 20%, okay? And that patient comes into a doctor's office. The patient goes back into the exam room. The nurse does a blood pressure, pricks their finger or does a venous draw, places it into a cartridge and we provide them with a machine that the cartridge is read on for free. 15 minutes later, when the doctor comes back in the exam room, they can tell that patient to eliminate blueberries, eggs, and pork out of their diet and they're going to feel much better. What's happening in the background, what the test is doing, is we are measuring immunoreactivity to an IBS panel of specific foods that, if they're above the normal range, will cause problems in people, and they cause the IBS symptoms. And we have clinical studies that are already performed at all those centers I mentioned previously to show you that. So I'm going to share that with you. But this is personalized medicine for IBS patients. It is as close as you can get to personalized medicine. Every patient has different foods that are problematic. This technology tells the doctor which foods are problematic for that specific patient. Okay, let's talk about IBS in the United States. It's the most common diagnosis. So it's the #1 reason for a gastroenterology visit in the United States. It's the 7th most common diagnosis of all physicians. These guys see the doctors more than 3 times more than non-IBS patients, and they have 74% more direct healthcare costs. Almost all of them will tell you that foods trigger their symptoms. In the United States, there's 40 million IBS, irritable bowel syndrome patients. There's 3 types of IBS: constipation, diarrhea, and what's called mixed IBS. Today, in the United States, there is no approved drug therapy for 1/3 of the market. So 13 million patients have no alternative, no treatment options. We would be the only treatment option. So this technology provides a very obvious benefit to the patient. So there's no drug reactions, there's no side effects, you're not ingesting anything, and you're going to feel better. For the physician in the United States, this provides a recurring revenue stream for that physician. So when they write a script in the United States, there is no revenue stream. They make no money. When a physician does this in their office, the InFoods diagnostic-guided therapy, they create a recurring revenue stream for that physician. So they help the patient better, and they just monetized and created a revenue stream for their #1 patient. The most beneficial economics come to the insurers. So in the United States, we have insurance companies, and those insurance companies pay today about $600 per patient per month for the drugs. And the drugs don't work that well. I'm going to show you in 1 second. Okay. So if you could keep that patient off the drug for 9 months, 12 months, 6 months, the savings to that insurer is immediate, and it's very significant. Here are the drugs that are used to treat IBS in the United States today. You can see Linzess is about a $2 billion drug. Amitiza, almost a $500 million drug. Xifaxan, almost a $2 billion drug. You can see that these drugs don't work that well. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at this. Okay, so here's the FDA study that got this cleared. Amitiza, 14% of the people who got the drug responded positively. So that was the treatment response. The guys who got the placebo, 8% responded. Drug minus placebo response is how the FDA measures efficacy. That's 6%. This is almost a $500 million drug. So none of these drugs work that well. The best drug from an efficacy standpoint, okay, not a sales standpoint, but efficacy standpoint, is Lotronex. Here is our product compared to Lotronex. This is a Mayo Clinic study that had Lotronex. It had about 200 patients. We're measuring how many times they had diarrhea, stool frequency. So how many times did they go to the bathroom during the day? They started out taking at about 4.5 times per day. By taking the drug Lotronex, the best drug in the class, they reduced that to about 2.8 times per day. So a 30% drop from where they started. By removing the food that's causing inflammation above the normal level for 12 weeks, you went from 4.5 bowel movements per day down to about 1.8 bowel movements per day. That's almost normal, and I would consider that normal. And that's a 65% drop from baseline, 100% better than the best drug in the class. So that takes us to, great, how are you going to get this FDA approved? And in fact, we're looking at the Chinese market and the European markets and everything else. The good news is we've already completed our clinical trial and the results are fantastic. So we can launch this as what in the United States in what's called a laboratory developed test. Okay. Remember, this is going to be approved as a therapy, not a diagnostic in the United States. So doctors use this to guide the therapy for the patient to make them feel better. The FDA has already given us a non-significant risk determination, so they don't see this like a drug where it has all kinds of side effects and risk, because we're not giving anyone a drug. And so we measured 9 of the FDA endpoints at, again, Mayo Clinic, Harvard, University of Michigan, and Texas Medical Center. And the results were very, very positive. It was 180 patients, double-blinded, multi-centered, randomized control study. Let's talk about how that study was designed. That study had randomization and double-blinded control. If a patient came in the study from Mayo Clinic, for example, which is the leading health clinic in the world as far as healthcare, they have the top ratings in the world. Okay, so if they came into Mayo Clinic and they were tested positive to blueberries and almonds, they got randomized in the treatment arm, they would eliminate blueberries and almonds. If they got randomized in the placebo arm, they would eliminate raspberries and walnuts, assuming that they tested negative to raspberries and walnuts and had the same consumption rate. Let's look at the results. This is comparing the treatment arm, the guys who got the true diet, to the placebo arm, the guys who got the sham or fake diet. We did extremely well. This is all types of IBS patients: constipation, diarrhea, and mixed patients. All 3 types. The p-value is the difference between these 2 arms. So this is showing how well we did. We did extremely well in what's called a global endpoint of subject global assessment of relief, which measures abdominal pain, altered bowel function, and overall well-being. We did extremely well in global improvement scale for all 3 types of IBS. The hallmark of IBS is patients having pain and bloating. So it's not just that they have diarrhea and constipation, they have pain and bloating that's associated with it. So you can see that these patients improved vastly over the placebo arm. So this really works for pain and reducing pain and bloating. That is going to allow us to monetize this product before FDA approval by launching it as a CLIA laboratory, and allow us at the same time to get it FDA approved. So we have a much, much closer path to actually realizing the sales for this thing. And what's more is, since our people on our scientific advisory board set the treatment guidelines, the way that you get a lot of physician adoption is inclusion in the treatment guidelines, which is the best practices. They've already told us, based on our results, we will be getting into the guidelines. Okay. And that guidelines is very important for driving insurance coverage. What's happening here is that you have reimbursement to the doctor. So again, remember, when they write a drug prescription in the United States, the doctor makes 0 money. By doing this, you're helping the patient in a much better way, and you're creating a revenue stream for the doctor. We also did marketing research to show that 95% of physicians and primary care physicians, GIs and primary care physicians, would use this product. So there's a lot of demand for this product. The Rome Foundation, you can look up. They are the ones who set the guidelines. They're the ones who are helping us do this because they think it's going to make a difference in patients' lives. We are doing IBS as our first disease state, so that's what we're targeting. But we will also go after other disease states with the same technology. So functional dyspepsia, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, migraine headaches, dermatology, depression. In fact, many of our clinical studies were done in China with very, very positive results. So we see this product coming to China as well. Let's talk about the specialty diagnostic side. Okay, so in specialty diagnostics, we have an ulcer screening product, which is in the FDA, and a colon disease test. The thing about ulcer, H. pylori, which is the leading cause of ulcers and gastric cancers, 80% of gastric cancer is due to H. pylori, and gastric cancer is the third most common cause of cancer death in the world. This product is now being evaluated by the FDA. We believe that we're going to get FDA approval anytime. For colorectal cancer screening, you might have tried colorectal cancer screening. All the products that are out there for colorectal cancer screening make you handle stool. So if you have to handle the stool, that means after a bowel movement, you have to play with your poop, okay? There's many different products. If you do not want to handle the stool, this is the only product. Here, you have a bowel movement. You put a pad on top of the water. You look for any color change. Any color change is positive. No color change is negative. You flush it down the toilet. The results of this product for as far as accuracy compared to the other products and sensitivity is fantastic. And we just got into every Walmart store in the United States. So now we're in Walmart and Walgreens in the United States. So I'm going to open it up to questions, but you can see that we have a very large platform for targeted GIs. Our model is very unique because we offer benefits to the patient, physician, and insurer. We have broad IP protection. We have no burn rate right now, and we have a very clean capital structure, and we have the depth of our scientific leadership team. It's the key leaders in the treatment space. Okay. Gilbert, I'll open it up for questions.
Sure, Zach. The first one coming from Long Hu is you mentioned you own shares in the company. How many total shares you own about approximately in BMRI right now?
Over 1 million.
Over 1 million. Good. The second question is revamp. You say, did COVID make any or huge impact on the overall investment in your sector? What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, COVID was very good to us. We developed some COVID products and we have sold those COVID products. So we did that not because we want to become a COVID company, but we did that to increase our sales and also increase the exposure for our company. We were one of the first companies to develop a test for COVID.
Great. Next one from Damian, and he's asking, can we expect any significant InFoods announcement in the quarter ahead?
I can't be specific to which quarter when we're going to announce something, but what I can tell you is that there are very many significant announcements due for InFoods. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Another question here from Jamie. Is the company undervalued right now, and why?
Well, if you think about it, you're a company that doesn't require cash because we're break even. We have 10 million in cash. We're valued at lower than 40 million in market cap, or about 40 million in market cap. And we have the potential to do over $1 billion in sales. So I would think that we're pretty undervalued.
Yes. Okay. One last question here from this Mover here. I just saw it. He's asking about InFoods, get this strategy. How do they get sustainable and working with the physicians and doctors to increase their revenues? What's the whole proposal?
Yeah, so the doctors want the product. And when we launch it as a clinical laboratory test, they just send the samples to us and we process it. They can also use the test in their office once the test is FDA cleared. So you can see that 95% of GI clinics and primary care physicians want the product. You will see some announcements for us of which groups. The interesting part about the GI market is that 3 groups in the GI market in the United States make up 10% of GI doctors in the United States. So 3 sales calls gets you 10% of the market. And I believe you'll see us working with some of those large groups. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take individual calls. Just email me and I'm happy to take individual calls.
For sure. Great. Thank you for your time, Zach, here today for addressing a very interesting story to our audience here.
Great. Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you.